All right, hey everybody, this is Brian with Smarter Networker. Thanks for joining us for the our closing webinar. This is a webinar we're going to do. This is about Dani's 7-step system for home business. And if you've been following along, we're actually on step number 4, and which is called closing. And we're excited about this because it's an area that most people are very, very uncomfortable with. And so we're going to be diving into some good stuff today. Thank you for joining us, and we're really excited about having you on with us at this event. And so many of you are jumping on right now. And as this is actually an encore presentation of our original presentation in the middle of the day on a Friday morning, you know, we're probably not getting a ton of folks on the live event, but most folks will be listening and watching the replay of this event, which is great. So if you have questions, we would definitely want to answer those questions. The best thing you can do is head on over to our Facebook group on Facebook called Project 1000. So just search Smarter Networker Project 1000, and you'll find our private Facebook group. Request access to that. We'll definitely let you in. We love having everybody join us, and we'll let you into the group. And this is really a great place for us to talk about how to apply Dani Johnson's training to your home-based business. And it's really an awesome spot there because we don't allow any recruiting in there, of course. And so if anybody even tries to recruit one time, they're out for good. And so it's a very safe place, and we enjoy kind of getting to answer questions and figure out how to accelerate your success in business. And this is such an important thing that so many people are struggling with. So how do you apply Dani Johnson's system to your business? Maybe you don't have any system at all and you're looking for a way to grow your home business. Well, this is the place to do it, using Dani's entire system. And maybe you do have a good system. Maybe your company is one of those rare companies that has a great system in place. You've got good leadership that's leading the way, all that kind of stuff. Fantastic. Take what you need and get really good at working your system, your business model. And so that's kind of the way we do it. Over at Project 1000, we'd love to have you join us over there and be asking questions and join the conversation. We'll always have something fun going on over there. Today we're going to be talking about closing and what that looks like. And this is, like I've said, an area that people get scared about, is asking that closing question. And the reason is I think that so many people look at closing as a confrontation, meaning that you're trying to get something from them, which is maybe something they don't want to give you, and that might be, you know, the money for a package or some product or something like that. That's really not the case. What's happening here is you're giving them an opportunity to change something about their lives that they're not satisfied with. Maybe that's their financial opportunity. Maybe it's their health if you're in a nutrition company. Maybe it's, you know, something that has to do with your product that can improve their life in some way, no matter what kind of product that is. And so what you're doing is giving them an opportunity to improve their life in some way. So there really shouldn't be a feeling of conflict there. You're just asking for them to make a decision. Now, one of the things that most folks feel like is that the closing is sort of a standalone thing. That, you know, you do your presentation, you get them to take a look at everything, and then it's time to close them, and that's when you really kind of start hitting them hard with just kind of pressuring them into getting started in your business. And that's really not the right approach to this at all. Closing is something that starts from the very first conversation that you have with a new prospect. And so we're going to be talking a little bit about how Dani's 7-step system is built from the very first step to make closing easy, and that closing really never stops. It's something that's always part of your business model. And the reason is that a lot of times folks get started and they think, okay, good, I got somebody signed up, and then that's kind of the end of your relationship almost. It's the end of your interaction with them about your business, and that's really, again, the wrong way to look at it. And really, what happens is once you get somebody started in your business, that's the beginning of a relationship. Your goal now is to help them be successful. I see this all the time where people get excited about signing somebody up, and then they kind of leave them out there to hopefully figure it out and go do something great. But without any guidance, most people are struggling and they don't know where to go. And so this is a very integral part to the system it's not a standalone component of Dani's 7-step system. And so you're gonna really enjoy this. We're gonna talk a lot about the different parts of the overall the process of the entire system, but also we're gonna dive really deep into the closing aspect of it. So let's jump right into our overview here real quick. And this is a little bit of a review, so but it's very critical that we go through this every time, because it's understand that this is all part of the same system, and they all part of the same process. So if you look at the very top overview, the high-level overview of Dani's system, it's really 3 things. Now, we cover this in the very first webinar of this series, Expose, Involve, and Upgrade. Those are the 3 things. So number 1, expose your business that's a constant thing you're always doing in home business, really any business, advertising, talking to people about your business, getting the word out, getting people to know your company and your business. Exposure happens all the time, but you're actually, in this particular, in our type of business, in a home-based business, it's super important that you realize that the way you expose your business can either create an objection, or it can actually allow somebody to take a look at your business more easily, because they're actually interested, and you're creating curiosity and enthusiasm for what you're doing, rather than objection or resistance to what you're doing. So the way you expose your business has a lot to do with how successful you are at closing people on starting in your business. So many times we see this, especially on social media, where you get these people that are just bombarding their quote friends on social media with all kinds of stuff about their product, before and after pictures, all these really bold statements or whatever. And the reality is, people don't want to see that. That's not why they're on social media. They're there to hang out with people and to kind of see what's going on around the world and with their friends. And so to get sold something in that way is kind of a turnoff. So there's definitely a right way and wrong way to expose your business, no matter what the situation, whether that's face-to-face, and let's say you're hanging out at a grocery store or something, meeting somebody in line, or you're just a friend of yours that you're hanging out on the street and you're talking to them, and that kind of thing. Is like, how do you actually expose your business in a way that's going to create curiosity and not resistance to what you're doing? It's pretty interesting. I have a friend who's in a home business, and his heart is good, but his skill set is not. And so he's been very consistent, but very loyal to this company. He's been working for a while now with them, and but he's still very defensive about what his product does and how it works, and that it is valid. And so as soon as somebody gives him any resistance on it, he really gets angered by that and starts pushing back hard, and it turns a lot of people off, unfortunately, even though he has a unique product that's extremely valuable and proven. He gets very defensive with that. So all of those kinds of things are exposures to your business, and so how you expose your business is such a critical component to how well you can then close down the road. Involvement is the next step. Now, this is probably the most important part of success in your business. Getting people involved in your business is super important. It's even if those people haven't fully committed to building a business with you, or using your products long term, or anything. In fact, there's ways to get people involved in your business who haven't even signed up for anything, or not even using your products. And so there's plenty of ways to do this, and it's really a critical thing, because this is the thing that helps people understand, first of all, your products better, which creates more belief. It helps them understand the value of your business, the way your business works. It takes away the mystery of your business, and that helps them like start to think about, maybe I could do this. It helps them. Involvement as they start getting going in your business is really important to help build that confidence. Helps upgrade their mindset, and that's really what we want them to be doing, is that as they start, some companies start from a customer and move them into business builders. Others start with a business builder, and then also along the way kind of reinforce the quality of the product, so you become a product evangelist as much as you become a business builder. And so your involvement steps, whether that's a Saturday training, some kind of a conference call, maybe it's I don't know, I mean, there's a million different things it could be. Whatever it might be for you, have to have a a purpose to them. Your purpose is to move the people that are in that group, participating in that involvement event, to the next step of their business journey, whatever that might be. So sometimes you have an event that might only be for customers. That's awesome. But you want to either move them to the next step of being a monthly subscriber type customer who's going to be using your products regularly, or maybe even a customer that's going to give you referrals, or maybe even all the way up to a business builder. Somebody's going to take a look at your opportunity. But the purpose of every step in the involvement process is to start upgrading people and move them through the process. And that includes closing people on that next step every single time you're in front of them. In fact, your closing really doesn't end. It never really ends, to tell you the truth, but you really don't know what someone's going to do in your home business for a full year. And some of you guys right now are saying, well, wait a minute, I'm not even been in for a year. I've been in 4 companies this year. Exactly. That's the problem, is that you personally may not even be committed to your own company yet, to your own success level yet. And so to get other people to do the same is pretty difficult. So your first job is to get yourself fully committed to the company that you're personally in right now. Get yourself, that belief and that decision that you make to go all the way is going to attract a lot of people to you, and you will see that you're going to get much more committed people in your business, which is exactly what you want. So, but the reality is that you constantly have to be upgrading people and closing people on the next step in their business. And again, you really don't know what somebody's going to do in your business for a full year. Sometimes what happens is they come in super strong, they start at the top level, they go crazy for a few months, and then all of a sudden they disappear. What happened? Well, they weren't committed to what you were doing. They just had tons of natural talent, but they didn't necessarily have the commitment to stick it out. And so as soon as something shinier came along, or as soon as it got a little bit hard, or as soon as there was any ripple, they were gone. And that happens a lot because the involvement process isn't strong. And so you want to make sure that you're constantly working on that to help people move along. So just understand that closing is not just to get somebody to sign up. This is something you're doing pretty much all the time in your business at some point or another. And then that leads us to upgrade. And we kind of touched on this already, is really upgrading their mindset, upgrading how they think and look at your business or your product line. And what that's going to do is it's going to, once their mindset is upgraded to like, okay, I want to do this, now they're thinking about how to do it. Now that's going to upgrade their activity level. Now they're going to start showing up at trainings more often. Now they're going to be bringing people with them to presentations. Now they're going to actually attend a live event somewhere, or a big corporate event or something like that. That's upgrading their activity, which then upgrades their results. And that's what you want, right? As a lot of people out there building their business with or without you, going after it and getting good results. And so upgrading their mindset and upgrading their position in the company and all those things is your goal of all of these things, whether that's closing like we're going to talk about today, or the involvement process, which includes a lot of closing throughout the entire process. So that's a little bit about the big picture overview. Now, as we get into the actual 7 steps, it's important to understand that closing is right in the middle of all this, right? In fact, it's number 4 of 7, so it's exactly in the middle of this. It's not the first thing, it's not the last thing, it's right in the middle. And so a lot of people want to be strong closers so they can close anybody the first time they talk to them and get them signed up and make a few bucks. And that's a very short-term approach to things, and it's always one of those things where you always have to be working. You never get to the point where you actually enjoy residual income if all you're looking to do is close people and make a few bucks, because it's a job. Basically, it turns into a job, and you're having to work to make your money every single day. And the beauty of our industry is the residual income. And so if you can learn this entire system, you're going to start developing a residual income, a true residual income that allows you to enjoy a lot of the things that are available to you in our industry. Now, this is the system that I learned when I first started working with Dani 23 years ago now. I actually got a chance to a woman came into my bicycle shop, my business back then, who now is my wife today, and we've got 2 beautiful kids 21 years later, just to celebrate our 21st anniversary. And I'll tell you something, when I first got a chance to look at this that many years ago, 23 years ago now, I was struggling financially and looking for ways to grow an income or build some kind of income outside of my business, which was kind of backwards thinking in a way because you know, my business should have been paying me well, but it wasn't. It was very successful in a lot of ways, but really at the end of the day there wasn't a lot of money left, and we were struggling financially. And so I got a chance to meet Dani Johnson she was doing a business presentation that I got to see. I went to one of her trainings. I learned some great stuff, and I learned enough to go out and start making some extra money. And I made a little over $2,000 my first 10 hours with Dani, using Dani's system and her techniques. And it was really some of the most important money I've ever earned, because it showed me that there was something else out there. There was something else I could do, and that would earn me some income. And so I got excited about it. Went on and over the next several years was able to work directly with Dani Johnson for many years. 5 or 6 years we worked together and built business, and it got to the point where my business personally was doing about $3 million a year. Which was awesome because it was a true residual income, and we learned the system that we're about to show you. And at the time, I had no idea that not everybody wasn't learning this. I figured that everybody knew this system. This is a normal thing. But later, when I started, you know, getting involved with people outside of the company that I was working with, I became the vice president of the company that we were building business with on the corporate side, and I started getting exposed to all kinds of other companies and their strategy and their training systems, and I realized there really wasn't a lot of good training out in our industry, and many companies didn't understand these 7 steps. And so that's kind of how Smarter Networker got started. Is we really felt like we needed to take these 7 steps and the training system that Dani taught us and take it out to the masses and into the world of direct selling and home-based business. And so this is kind of how all this came about. So the 7 steps are really important. They're all going to lead to a better overall result. But the very first step of expose, again, like we already talked about, is critical to your success in closing. How do you expose your business? Are you creating objections or creating curiosity? Right there. The initial contact, that first conversation that you have with somebody. So let's say you're doing flyers as a way to expose your business. Is your flyer creating curiosity and interest, or is it creating objections? And the reality was, I wish I had a flyer in front of me, but a lot of times we try to put too much information on that little teeny piece of paper. It's only designed to create a phone call, right? Just like any advertising, it's only designed to create interest in a phone call. So many times people are trying to actually sell their product and close their product on a little piece of paper, and so they start adding all this information, trying to get salesy and trying to get tricky or whatever, and people just kind of get turned off to that. So you're actually creating objections and hurting your ability to expose your business properly. The next step, initial contact, is that first conversation with someone. Let's say they do call you and they've got questions and they want to know more. How you handle that conversation is going to you're either going to keep that person as a prospect, or you're going to lose them right there. And then for the few that you do keep as a prospect, are you creating curiosity, or are you creating objections? So those objections are things you're going to have to handle at some point. And so the fewer objections that you actually create, the better when it comes to your home-based business. And that means there's going to be less problems to solve down the road. And then your presentation is such a critical, important part of this, because your presentation should actually handle the objections that you know are going to be coming up from people that take a look at your business. You know that people are going to say, I don't have the money. You know that people are going to say, I don't have the time. You know that people are going to give you a number of different excuses. The thing is, though, that the one issue that actually stops people from doing our business after they get past all those other things is, number one, they're afraid of doing a business like this. They personally don't believe they can do it. And so you've got to handle those objections inside of your presentation. The more that you can do inside your presentation, the fewer you're going to have afterwards. And it's going to be easier to handle those objections when they come up. And we're going to talk about all this in just a second. You can see step 4 is closing, which is what we're talking about today. If you want to get back and kind of review some of these other things, we take a deep dive in each one of these steps through our webinar program. You can go check out smarternetworker.com, find the What's Working tab. You'll find the webinar trainings over there, and we have them all posted there for you, so you can go back in and get all those for your own personal training, and maybe pass them on to other people as well. They're just a great tool to be able to understand better the system that's available through Dani Johnson and smarternetworker.com. After closing, again, this is just the start of that relationship, that business relationship. Once they said yes, they may not even say yes and hand you a big check. They might not even say yes and jump in 100%. They might say, yeah, I'm kind of sort of interested. You know, your yes might not be a really strong, let's go conquer the world kind of yes. It could be a very kind of, you know, timid yes. And so that's okay. We want to get them plugged in and involved, and through things like on-the-job training, they're going to start learning the process. And the goal of on-the-job training, which we'll talk about next week, is making them some money. And so we'll be diving into that. And then the duplication process, which is so critical to your success as well as theirs, when we talk about that. And then actual leadership development is step number 7, where they're out there building their business with or without you. That's when your residual income is actually a residual income, and you start seeing growth in your business that you are not controlling, and that's exciting. So that gets really good. So anyway, that's a little bit about Dani's 7-step system. Hope you can see that closing is just a piece of that, and it's not the one thing that's going to make or break what you're doing in your business. Now, handling objections is closing. Closing is handling objections. And so there's a very simple cycle to this whole process. If you look at closing as just a process, just a cycle of handling people's objections, it makes it much, much easier. So here's the little diagram we put together for you. First of all, you have to ask a closing question. Now, this is where we lose most people, is actually asking that question. And the important thing here is you're asking a question that is not just a yes or no question that they could answer no to. Because if they answer no to a question, a closing question that you're going to ask them, you could very easily end the whole cycle right there. So you want to ask them a question that is that requires a positive answer and requires more than one word. Something like, what did you like about what you saw? That was the one that I use all the time. A lot of people use that question. It's a great question to ask. What did you like about what you saw? Now, assuming this is after a presentation, you know, or how did you like, or what did you like about how that product made you feel? Or, you know, what about the product did you like? It's something like that, where you're asking them a question that they have to respond positively to, and they've got to give you more than just a yes or no answer. So this gives you the ability to start learning. If you're listening to what they're saying to you, you're going to learn a lot about that person and what's important to them throughout this process. So, for example, you say something like, hey, what did you like about what you saw? And they're going to say, well, I really love the income potential. I need to make some extra money, but I really, you know, I just don't think I've got the time to do a business like that. And so they gave you their first objection. So that red box right there is the objection. So those are the kinds of things you're going to hear when you ask that question. You're not going to hear, you know, just, oh, this is terrible. Usually, although once in a while you will, but you're going to get a thing. Hey, I really like the idea of making money. I love this product. It really sounds awesome, but I just don't feel like I've got the time to handle another thing on my plate, and something like that, right? And so they're going to give you that objection, whatever that is. And so now, hopefully, beforehand, you've talked to them enough. You kind of know their things that are important to them, their goals, their interests, the things that they'd like to see happen in their lives through the interview process. But so when they give you this objection, it's not going to be as strong as the thing that drives them. And so you'll get good at this. You go back to look at the presentation and the initial contact when we really talk about Dani's system of forming somebody and finding out their strengths, interests, goals, and needs. And then you're going to use this again right here. So the objection point now, that what you're going to do is handle that objection with a story. And that means that you're not just going to hammer them with facts. You're not going to hammer them with ingredients. You're not going to hammer them with, you know, whatever it is. You're going to hit them with the testimonial right here. The two reasons for this. Number one, testimonials, you cannot argue with them. They're not facts that you can debate. They're not, you know, opinion that you can debate. They are a testimonial that is someone's actual story of their success. And so there's no way you can argue that. It's somebody's true story. And so this is what's super important about testimonials, is that they're indisputable, if you will. So the other thing is that it's very personal. It's very, people love stories. They don't like to be sold something. They don't like to be, you know, hit with a bunch of closing lines and stuff like that. By sharing a testimonial, you're actually relating to them. You're showing them that you heard what they've said and that you're on their side. And so sharing a story has got so much power behind it. Question might have to be like, okay, hey, what did you like about what you saw? Person says, you know, I love this, sounds awesome, but I just don't think I don't have the time to do something like this. I'm not a salesperson. I just don't think it's going to fit me. And you could say something like, you know what? I have a friend of mine. Her name is Carrie. She was 9 months pregnant when I met her. She was just about to have a baby. She was also an international flight attendant for United Airlines. And she was terrified because she couldn't possibly, you know, have a brand new baby with no support at home. She was about to become a single mom, and she had no idea how she was going to do her job, which required her to leave the country sometimes for 10 days at a time and still raise her baby. She couldn't do both. And so she was terrified as what she was going to do, and she got started. She came to some training. She followed the directions step by step, and in her spare time of having a brand new baby, in her first year, she made over $75,000. So then you can ask the question, another question again. So what do you, you know, whatever the next closing question, and the best place to find some good closing questions, by the way, are in the script books. If you don't have both of these script books, you need to get these. We have scripts for this process right here. And what did you like about what you saw is in this script book. And so the next question you might ask somebody is saying, so do you want to make a little bit of money, or do you want to make a lot of money so that you can accomplish the goals that you gave me of sending your kids to college in about 4 or 5 years when they're graduating high school? Is that still a goal that you have, and so are you looking to make a little bit of money or a lot of money? Now, if you look up on my little notes up here, most people are going to give you 2 to 3 objections. And what I mean by that is, like, when you ask that second closing question, do you want to make a little bit of money or a lot of money, they are going to give you another objection. Well, I'd love to make a lot of money, of course, but I really don't think I have the time. I really want to try the product to see if it works for me, something like that. Let's say they give you that one, right? We've all heard that objection. And that's an objection, by the way. It's not a valid excuse. It's not a valid statement. If they want to, the bottom line is your product is tested. It's proven. People have been using it for years and years with phenomenal success. Otherwise, your company wouldn't be in existence, right? So it's just another objection. And the reality is here, you got to understand that all of these objections come down to this. They don't believe they can do it. They're afraid that they're going to fail. That's what it comes down to. All of these objections come down to this one thing. So if you know that in the back of your hand, or your back of your mind, and you can handle these objections, say, you know what, I totally understand how you feel. A good friend of mine, she felt the same way. She got started on the product. She had a thyroid issue. Within just a couple of days, her thyroid symptoms started to improve. She had more energy. She felt great. She, within her first 30 days, did $25,000 in sales, and was actually able to make over $2,500, almost $3,000 in her first 30 days. So let me ask you again, do you want to make a little bit of money or a lot of money? And you know, they're going to do that a couple of times, and eventually they're going to say, you know what, I just want to make a lot of money, let's go to work. And that's when you hand them your application and you shut up at that point, right? Dani talks about this all the time. Even in the script book, she talks about this, and all the training that comes with the script book bundle, she covers this, and it's just basically ask the closing question, hand them the script, and shut up. Let them fill out the form. Do you need a pen? That might be the only other thing you say to them. But the idea being that it's now time for them to take action. It's now time for them to do the thing that they said they're going to do. And again, there's a lot that you can learn from Dani's trainings on this. This is available through all kinds of different formats. Prospect and Close Your Way to Millions is a powerful training program. We'll share with you some more information on that in a second. Also, just things like in our free 30-day boot camp, there's a ton of good training on closing and Dani's strategies there. So lots of ways you can get some information. So the maximum number of objections, and I've actually never seen this personally, but I have heard of other people have gotten up to 7 objections from somebody, which is crazy. I can't imagine somebody giving me 7 objections. Probably the same one a couple of different ways, but the bottom line is that. So if you have more testimonials, more stories than they have objections, you're going to win every time. But the reality is most of the time you're going to get 2 or 3 objections, and just understand you got to go through this cycle 2 or 3 or 4 times before you get a yes or a no. A no is just as good in some cases because it may not be somebody who's really qualified to work with you. That's another component of closing. If you are trying to beg them to jump into your business and do something because you need them to join your business, because you need to make money, because you need to see some growth, because you're failing, believe me, you're never going to have good success. But if you're interviewing that person to find out if they're good enough quality, if they're the type of person that you want to work with, if they are have the standards of and the skills that you're looking for to join your company and to work with you, then that your posture is very different, right? And so you're very much going to have to attract different people, and you're going to get much better results on that. 90% of sales happen after 3 or more follow-ups. Now this could be the product sales, this could be closes on this, and those 3 follow-ups could happen right in the short term, but they may also be that somebody says, well, let me try the product first, okay? And maybe you've gone around that cycle a few times, you've tried getting them past that, but they're just stuck on that. Great, get them signed up and use the product, fine, or just sell them some product to retail, but you've got to follow up with them afterwards. And so maybe you're doing a presentation online and you haven't had a chance to yet follow up with that person. Make sure you do the follow-up, because most of the time those first 1 or 2 or 3 follow-ups are not necessarily going to give you any fruit. But that consistency and the persistence of staying focused and following up with people as many times as it takes to be able to handle their objections and either get a yes or a no from that person is what it's going to take. So stay on it and make sure that you get all the way through the process. All right, so let's review a couple things and get into some new stuff here. Use the whole system. First of all, this is the important thing, is that you don't want to just focus on closing and as that as a skill and don't put any effort into the rest of the system. Use the entire process. Look at every step of your process and figure out what is working and what needs improvement. How do you do that? First of all, do you get the same objection every time you show your business? So many times people get the same exact objection every time, and they don't know how to handle it. So this is really easy, actually. If you get the money objection, I don't think I've got the money. Couple things here. Number one, 90% of all objections are provoked by you. 90% of the objections you're getting are actually created by you. And what I mean by that, and this is not, this is something that Dani teaches on often, is that the things that you say and do are actually creating that objection. Now think about this. If you're always getting the I don't have any money objection, is that your current objection to your business? Are you feeling broke? Are you acting broke? Are you thinking broke? If you are, those things are coming through to your prospects in a lot of ways. You might be saying little things like, I know this product seems a little bit expensive, but it's so good. And you start giving them all the information, all the data, and all the ingredients, and you try to convince them that how it's worth, $50 or $60 or whatever. Or I know it's expensive, $1,000 to get started in a business, but man, look what you get, all these products and all this stuff. That's broke thinking. And if you are doing that in your business, you're going to be creating that money objection every single time. So go back to the very beginning where you're exposing your business and take a look at that. Now, if you are stuck in this broke thinking mentality, get somebody else who isn't to look at your stuff. Maybe a leader in your business who's making money, not just a leader that's one teeny step ahead of you and just as broke, but somebody who's actually making a lot of money. Get them to look at your exposure process, your presentation process all the way through, and find those spots that may be creating the objection that you're getting. Okay, so this is a really important thing. The other thing is, by using the whole system and handling those objections along the way, you're creating curiosity and interest and enthusiasm rather than objections and resistance. You're going to see a much different result when it comes to the actual time to close. And so be thinking about this, be looking at your process, go back to the last few webinars we've done, go through those and look at your process and see how it's looking. But if you're getting the same exact objection every time, you are causing that. And so you want to, number one, have a number of testimonials that kind of handle that objection for sure, but then on top of that, how else can you handle that objection before it's ever even created? Okay. Now, the script book bundles, we touched on these before. This is critical to your overall success in a lot of ways. Number one, there's about 70 different scripts in here, and every one of these scripts has some sort of close to it. Some sort of closing question happens in these scripts, whether you're inviting somebody to a presentation or you're closing them to get started in your home business. These scripts have those questions in there. And so that's important, and that you learn these. Now, what I recommend everybody does with these two scripts, now you can get these over at Project 1000, I'm sorry, over at smarternetworker.com. Go to the product section and look for the script book bundle. That's the best price available on these two script books. Plus, you're getting about, with Smart Network, you get about 10 other extra hours of training. We have a 2-hour prospecting and closing webinar that Dani did a while back for us. It's posted there. We've got several downloads. We've got all kinds of other training materials. There's 2 or 3 audios that come with this as well. I think there's like 4 or 5 hours of audio training plus some downloads that you can use to keep track of the process and all that. So tons of good stuff there. So what I recommend everybody do is read through these books from cover to cover. Just read through them like a novel. And by doing that, you're going to learn the language. So if you're one of those people that's creating an objection about, you know, broke thinking maybe, and you're getting that money objection every time, read this, because this is the opposite of that. This is going to give you terminology and phrases that are very much entrepreneurial. They're very much success-minded. And so the terminology that will start coming through your mouth is going to change the result you get when it comes to closing. And so read these scripts like a book. Then you go back through again and highlight the ones that apply directly to your opportunity and your product line, if you're in your system. Find the ones that are going to be the most useful to you. And then number 3 is to get your team doing this. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to talk to a very small percentage of you right now, because some of you are so good at doing this business personally. You can talk to anybody and get them signed up for your product. You can talk to anybody and get them signed up for your business. The problem is that the person you're signing up is not that same person. They can't do what you can do. And so you need to have words and terminology and a system that's duplicatable. You want the person on the other side of the table to say, you know what, I can do what she's doing, or I can do what he's doing, because that's the thing that's going to get them to say yes more often than not. Is if they believe that they can do what you're doing right now, they will be much more likely to say, yes, I can do that. That means you don't have to have a perfect presentation. That means you don't have to be flawless and know all the ingredients and all the everything. You can totally mess this thing up, and they're like, man, if that person can do it, I can do it. That's what you want them saying on the other side of the table. And the script books help with that, because they give you this common knowledge, the common terminology, the common words that everybody can use. In fact, you can actually have these script books in front of you and read from these scripts while you're interviewing somebody, while you're closing them. And we've done this in the past. It's been fantastic, because they're like, you are literally reading the script to me in front of me. Exactly. And so this is something that people feel like they can do, of course. So that's why script books are so critical to your success. Facts tell, stories sell. We talked about this earlier. Have at least 20 testimonials memorized for your to handle objections. So if you're getting the money objection, or if you're getting the I need to try the product objection, or you're getting the I don't have the time objection all the time, make sure you've got a bunch of testimonials to cover those stories, those objections. So if you've got 20 different testimonials memorized, you can now hit people their objections really, really well with good stories. Now, how you deliver those testimonials was not in their face and kind of like confrontationally telling them a story, but just like, hey, you know what? I totally understand. I hear what you're saying. A friend of mine, when she got started, she didn't have any time either. She was a full-time interior designer, was working like 80 to 90 hours a week, 100% commission. She was, if she didn't work, she didn't make any money. She was doing well, but she was totally stressed out and couldn't take time off or anything like that. And she got started, she got plugged into some training, and today, in fact, her first year, she made $125,000, and she went on to build a huge business that pays her a great residual income. So do you want to make a little bit of money or a lot of money? If I could show you how to do this in just a few hours a week, would you want to make a little bit of money or a lot of money? That's one way to do it. So that's using a testimonial, asking another closing question. They're going to give you another objection, maybe, and then you just hit them with another story. So having more stories than they have objections helps. That will make you win every single time. All right, now the involvement, the other thing, we've already really touched on this, but the involvement thing we talked about is does every step of the way along the involvement process. Now, every step is part of your involvement, so exposure is part of your involvement. First conversation and initial contact, part of your involvement. That presentation is part of the involvement. What happens after that, the trainings and the conference calls and the events and all that stuff afterwards, the using of the products, that's all involvement. So every single time they are involved in your opportunity or business, your products, that needs to be designed to take them to another level in their thinking and their mindset. For their first year, yes, the first year. Now you are somewhere along the way on the process as well. You personally are involved in your business opportunity, and hopefully you're looking at this. Okay, what do I have to do to get my mindset to the level of that superstar that's on stage? How do I get to that point? And so your job is to figure that out for yourself. And once you've done that, you've just upgraded your mindset. Now the people behind you can come along as well. So it's really an important part to look at your involvement, your total involvement. The other thing here is a lot of times people will say yes to some low level. They're not going to say necessarily yes to the top package every time, although start there and then work your way down. Some people will say yes to the top package. It makes sense. In most compensation plans, that's where you make the most money, right? That's where you get maximum commission. There's a lot of reasons to start at the top. However, not everybody does that. Some people start in the middle. You might, through involvement, get them to upgrade to the top package. This happened all the time in our business. We would be talking to people about their, getting them started, and they may or may not even officially get started, but they were willing to do a home party for us, for example, or they were willing to start at the bottom level, or they were willing to start with the products. But by getting them plugged into a Saturday training or even a First Steps to Success event, they would come out of those events and say, I'm ready to go. And they would then upgrade themselves to the top level. So whatever, just be thinking about that. What you're doing needs to help them upgrade themselves. And down the road, we're going to do some trainings on Saturday training, how to do one properly, and a couple of other things. We can give you outlines. We've already got some stuff over on our blog. Just go to Smarter Networker, go to blog, go to search for Saturday, and you'll find 4 or 5 posts on how to do a good Saturday training that's going to do the things we're talking about. We're going to do even more on this in the future, but involvement is such an important thing to constantly be upgrading, constantly closing people on their next step in your home-based business. So super important part of what you're doing. Now I'm going to play a short video for you. I love this video. It illustrates everything we're talking about right here, and it's really a ton of fun. And let's see if I can make this happen without breaking it. But it's only about 3 minutes, so hopefully it will work properly. Let me see if I can find this here, sharing. And let's see, where is that? Not there. All right, sharing. Well, actually, it doesn't look like it showed up here. Hang on, let me check one more place. Here we go. Let's try this. No. All right. Well, I'll tell you, there's another place you can. Let me try one more thing here. No, it doesn't look like it came through, but yeah, I guess it didn't. So there's a place where you can get this video. You definitely want to do this after we're done. Go to smarternetworker.com, go to the blog, and look up handling objections. It's actually one of the very top, most recent posts on the blog right now. This video is awesome. In fact, that whole blog post is great. It really touches on what we're doing right now. But this video is only 3 minutes long, so when we're done here today, make sure you go on over there. It's so good. To have a 10-year-old girl closing a 14-year-old or 13-year-old boy on his objections. He gives Dani 2 objections right off the bat, and Dani uses testimonials in the form of this 9-year-old girl to come up and share her story. It's super powerful. I think you're gonna absolutely love it, and it's really a fantastic bit of information that illustrates everything we've talked about today. So make sure you go on over there. I'm sorry that it didn't set up properly, but overall, that's all right. The other place, if you really want to master this skill, and all the things we've been talking about are covered in an audio program called Prospect and Close Your Way to Millions. We call it Millions for short, but Prospect and Close Your Way to Millions is available over at smarternetworker.com. This is the master class in all the things we're talking about. I think there's like almost 15 hours worth of audio and video training here. And video is really important because, and especially with Dani Johnson, if you watch her posture, you watch her facial expressions, you watch how she handles things, it's very different than just listening to it, because a lot of what she does that really makes it happen is in her posture and the way she conducts herself. And so watching some of that is really an important part. All right, so what I want to do, if you have any questions at all, please let me know. You can type them into the chat box or into the question box, actually, down below. There's a question box down there. You can just type in your question, and we'd love to handle that. If you guys have any questions at all, please answer or ask them there. If you don't, that's totally fine. What we've got available for you is over in Project 1000, we have the ability for you to ask any question you want. So if you want to go on over to Project 1000, maybe you're watching the replay of this video and we're not actually live, then you can head on over to Project 1000 and be able to connect with folks over there and ask those questions. Either myself or Laura Sankowski or some other business expert who's in the group is going to answer that question for you. And it'll start a good conversation and get a lot of information. You also can use the search box over there, and maybe your question has already been answered or asked. And if it has, then that's totally fine. So, but anyway, I appreciate you guys being on with us today. This has been a good training for you, I hope, and hopefully you'll be able to use some of the stuff we talked about today in your business and help you get better results when it comes time to asking that closing question and handling that objection. So again, thank you so much. We'll talk to you again very soon. Bye-bye.